Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Heartland Mamas. I'm Murray Briel.
And I'm Heidi Henry on our regular Tuesday and Thursday live stream on Facebook. Please find all of our previous episodes on YouTube, Demcast USA, every podcast platform, or you can get it at Demcast USA. Heartland Mamas, MAMAS.com, bringing you the voice of progressivism and democracy across the Great Red Divide. So, Murray, we've had a very busy time since last Thursday.
Oh, Lord.
And
Oh,
it's like,
my.
how do you unpack it all, right? So take it away, Mur.
Uh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, just the news cycles are already erratic as you can possibly imagine. And what would normally be a news cycle that would be for an extended period of time, like one of these stories would normally dominate a week worth of news.
Yeah.
We are inundated constantly by a barrage of stories that we can't hold on to because no one is able to keep up with what is going on. So when we say we're a little bit, that's because of the last 5 days. So let's see. The Hope Hicks got coronavirus. The president contracted coronavirus. Kellyanne Conway contracted coronavirus. Mike Lee, Tom Tillis.
McInerney.
The list goes on and on.
Kayleigh
And
McInerney.
so, right. We are talking about a super spreader at this point,
Yes.
right? Like Typhoid Toddler.
Yes.
I don't know.
Well, and here's the thing, Marie, is the White House has decided not to do contact tracing because they don't want to trace back who started this. I have a feeling it goes right back to the typhoid toddler who probably got it from his Supreme Court pick who had COVID-19 over the summer and may or may not still be contagious. Nobody knows because she hasn't
Well, I don't know if I would go that far.
had. Mm-mm.
I think that that's kind of making a leap. We don't know if she had it
No,
or
she
what the
she
case
had
is.
it. She's been really
But
open
what we
about having
do
it.
know, right, but we don't know if she's still carrying
No.
or. But what we can say, I mean, think about the thousands of people that his staff and his team who don't enforce the practical guidelines
Yeah.
that are established have been in contact with.
Oh, I know.
It could have been a restaurant worker at the rally in Minnesota where they just came out, or in Wisconsin where they just came out that 14 were diagnosed after his rally there
Oh.
that worked in a restaurant. It could have gotten there to any number of folks
Yeah.
and then
Absolutely.
leaked into the White House. So we talk all the time about the White House, right? And we talk about, the news cycle, as we were saying, and the information that we get from that versus the information that we get from the media is oftentimes very contradictory.
Yeah, you
And
mean like wait a minute. You mean like downplaying it by a doctor who's not an MD but an osteopath, which is okay. I've seen osteopaths. Uh, and then the chief of staff goes what he thinks is off record to a live camera what's actually going on with the president. You mean that kind of weird, not like a story within a story within a story within a, wrapped in a
it
riddle
is. It's a bit like
and
a
covered in
Russian
bullshit?
nesting doll.
Yeah.
It is a bit like a Russian nesting doll. You just pull one out after another after another.
I read the history
So,
of those
here's
the other day.
we get so wrapped in the day to day, the insanity of what is around us. I think we all lose sight of the bigger picture.
Yeah.
I guess is where I'm kind of going with this.
Right.
So, whether or not he was the spreader, she was the spreader, none of that really matters. What matters is the fact that if he was following guidelines,
No, he wasn't. He never
if
does.
his administration was following
No,
guidelines,
they don't because
there
he
would
tells
have
them not
been
to.
there would have been potentially an infection and a few people would have gotten it.
Right.
But it would not be to the magnitude of what it is today or where it is. As of now, we know that multiple people that work for him
Yeah.
in the residence, in the West Wing, staffers, reporters, journalists,
Secret Service.
we know now that the Joint Chiefs of Staff are in quarantine, and one of the Joint Chiefs also has it. We
Yep.
know Chris Christie has it. We
Yes.
know Kaylee McGinty has it. We know
We
everyone
know Rudy
has
has
it.
it.
And
We know Rudy has it.
what?
Ha! Rudy
Uh,
Giuliani tested positive.
I know. He did?
Yeah, like last week.
When?
Oh, last week that was out. See, there was so much going on because after we went off the air Thursday, FLOTUS came out saying, who wants to put up the effing Christmas decoration and who cares about those effing kids in cages? I
And
mean,
I'm not going to lie, I thought this might have all been a hoax. I thought this whole
well,
thing might have been a scam because of the timing. You know.
his taxes came out. FLOTUS apparently it has no heart, like we always suspected a porn star would never have. Not all porn stars, just that one. Um, and then this came out, and there's a history of people feeling sorry for candidates that are ill, and for Trump after his debacle of a uh,
Right.
debate. Thank you. Debacle of a debate. FLOTUS losing her mind. His terrible taxes, showing that he is a broke ass sob. Um, yeah, this got us talking about something else. But I'll tell you what, Marie.
And I want to address that real quick,
Yeah,
Heidi. What you just said. You just said that because we hear so many different stories and there has been such a lack of
I
transparency
ground my
and an
kids for being like
obfuscation of
this.
truth and facts, and we talk about this like we're really surprised, right? Like, oh no, facts are distorted. Facts have never really been real. Facts are only real in the context of how we create them. Our rules that we are governed by are really only suggestions.
There are no
When you boil
rules.
it down,
Barr and McConnell have made sure that no rules apply to Trump, none whatsoever. And he's allowed to run roughshod all over the country with those two pushing him as their Trojan horse while they go out and destroy everything. Our Constitution, our Department of Justice, our laws, our judicial system. They constipate what happens in the Senate and the rule of law. That is the enablers that are causing this to happen. And when this man, who is higher than a kite on dexamethasone and extra oxygen right now, plus God knows whatever else he's on, and his weight is like 323? We're not the slim, svelte guy he kind of tells everybody he is. Anyway, and I can't talk because, I'm not a svelte person, but, he is a walking pre existing condition. And all the I can't get sick and sickness is weakness part of Trump, and that's why he wants to take away the thing for pre-existing conditions. Sorry, I have to breathe. But
and that's how we all feel a lot.
yeah,
And you were mentioning, as we talk about how little trust there is
I
out
don't
there
trust
and
him.
how facts are all inconsequential. Like, did he really
All
have it? You mentioned that you thought of how political leaders do gain sympathy or politicians if they get an illness during a campaign. I think he was going the other way with it, sort of the Kim Jong Un,
oh
I
yeah,
don't poop or fart method of.
this I am
Uh,
strong.
and
Look
then
at
to
his
see him do
tweets.
the demonstrations that he has done at the White House, endangering the lives, and we need to just boil it down, okay? He doesn't care
No,
about anything. McConnell, Barr, neither do they. His
no,
enablers do not.
no,
They care about absolutely nothing.
nothing.
And this is one of the fundamental flaws of our
Mm-hmm.
democracy. So think about this. We started our democracy largely in part because a bunch of rich white guys were pissed off that they had to keep giving money to
That
somebody
they'd
who
pay
lived far
taxes.
away and didn't do anything. Right, right. So this
Nothing's
group
changed with that.
of this group of rich guys didn't like the fact that one dude had all the money and power.
Right,
And they got together and said, if we work this out, we can have all the money and power
right,
and get this guy gone.
right.
So we did everything in our democracy to try to limit the powers given to the president.
Marie.
And over the years, those have ebbed and flowed, curtailed and advanced. But as we have moved to this point, everyone is clinging to this notion of civility, this notion of standard that we
The
say
honor
exists
system?
that was
The honor
never
system?
there. Exactly. This when he first got elected, I said, does anyone realize that you don't have to pass a background check to become president of the United States? There is no one who looks at his resume,
No,
who checks into him.
except the
And
voters. Yeah.
if he wins, we're screwed.
Yeah.
Right? So it's one of those things that we need to drop the fake beliefs that individualism is more important than the community. And here's where we fall into this premise.
Mm-hmm.
He cares more about himself.
Oh, yeah.
Mercenary capitalism, which we talk about,
Right.
he cares more about himself.
Right.
He doesn't care about his Secret Service,
No.
as evident by his little stunt. He doesn't care about his military,
No.
as evident by the fact that we have multiple Joint Chiefs of Staff now in quarantine
That's
or
right.
diagnosed. He doesn't care about those Navy men who were on a ship 30 days infected with COVID. We know he doesn't care about them.
Right.
We know he doesn't care about his staffers.
Right.
Because if he cared about his staffers at all, he would have protected them. And then we get to the question of whether or not he was even tested and when. So I can see him being enough of a baby that he wouldn't like the test and wouldn't let anybody test him.
They said he took the rapid test first, and Murray, he does not care about the people around him, and he does not care if the people around him die as long as he survives, and he can say, I'm the strongest, and sell $100 coin in the gift shop that says, Trump beat COVID, and, he develop a cure from his blood serum. Hello, North Korea. I look at him and I think he's not just a narcissist. He is a disease within himself. He is a diseased, sick, twisted individual, and I can't even fathom the depths that he is willing to go to be disgusting.
You're 100% right, Heidi. And that's a part of what really bothers me is I think we feel oftentimes helpless and frustrated because we place our trust in our government. We place our trust in those that we vote to govern us. And when they fail us, when they look at us and say the system, we can't do anything, they're wrong. Because there is always something that can be done. It's that none of them want to do it.
Right.
They're all afraid of what those repercussions will be. So, if we try to go after this super spreader on a public health issue, nobody. Well, that would infringe on civil liberties, and we can't. He's the president, but he's not a dictator. Our founders wanted the power to go away from one dude, right?
Right.
Now this one dude has all the power again. Right. And the military can't tell him no. Walter Reed, one of the top medical institutions in the world, allowed someone diagnosed with COVID-19 on experimental medicine to leave the hospital without signing AMA.
Do you know why?
Because he's the president. Because he controls the military.
Because he was bored. And I posted a meme on my page, my personal page the other day about how, he was restless and bored and fussy. So they strapped him in his car seat and took him for a ride because we've all done that with our toddlers. And, maybe that was the only thing they could do to get him to shut the fudge up, because he's just such a narcissist.
Then you kind of get into but again, all of this is malpractice.
It is.
Whether or not there's a protocol for it, whether or not there's a procedure for it, at this point, something needs to happen and happen quickly because the sheer number of people that he will continue to infect, they let him out of a ward designed to keep virus in. Individual rights are more important than the collective.
And as he walks into the White House, he whips off his mask like, ta-da! I don't need it anymore because, I am He-Man or whatever. Weren't you a He-Man person? Didn't you watch He-Man?
Oh, I loved in She-Ra, Princess of
Yeah. So he just yeah,
Power.
just ripped off his mask like it was nothing. Like, I don't care if I infect everybody else. I don't care. Now, sorry, my dogs are having a fit right by my feet. I've got all three of my dogs in the little studio with me because they can't be without me today. They're very needy. I don't know why. So, but I look at how he's behaved and him stating that people should not let this run their lives or change what they do, that it's no worse than, he has said it is no worse than the flu, that fewer people will die. We have more people that have died so far in 6
He
months.
has a White House advisor who is pushing herd immunity. This is all building together, and I'm sorry.
That's 2 million plus
He
dead.
controls the military, they can't do anything. The Republicans have the Senate, they won't do anything. The courts are getting packed, the Democrats control the House, they can't do anything. Someone, somewhere needs to do something, or it's us. It's
The
the
vo-
people.
it's the
And I know
voters.
we're so close to an election. And when Joe Biden wins by a landslide, we will face a whole new challenge to constitutionality and everything else. But I'm telling everybody, we need to be ready. And I almost don't think that our nation can wait another 27 days
Well, it's more than that, Marie. It's
till the
what,
election.
105 days until the inauguration. So a lot can happen in 105 days. And the CDC, his own government agency, is predicting that we will double the number of COVID deaths before Christmas. Double. So instead of 210, that's 440,000. All of us are just a few degrees separate from somebody who's had COVID, and maybe 6 degrees of separation from somebody who's died from COVID. I happen to know I'm like 2 degrees away from people who have died from COVID 19. They did not have access to a flight to Walter Reed and all the health care our tax dollars can buy. They were,
For $750 a year,
oh my God.
or for 10 years. Yeah.
So, here's the reality is his COVID experience is not the average COVID experience. It's not the
And right, right. Just, I mean, think if we're not even, I mean, the consequences of the new treatment that isn't even approved for end of life use, or well, I can't think of what the name of it is off the top of my head, but the Regulon, and so these are things that the average person can't get. No medical facility would say an infected person should leave. All of these things compound onto each other, and those ripples are far reaching. But my biggest fear is the fucking rock that's right there falling into the pond, and that's him. What can we need to cut the head of the beast off? No one. Remember this. Think about this. There are no rules for how to deal with this, so make the rules.
yeah.
The rules we have were once created, we can change them. Every rule has a way to be bent or changed. That's what life is. It's progression. Take control and change the rules. For
Well,
those of you who are in power, before we as citizens have to become Belarus to try to save our lives.
well, Marie, I was just talking to somebody today who was very upset about the two justices that went after the Marriage Equality Act, the very foundation of it, Thomas and one other. And
Alito.
yeah, Alito figures those two. So they were going after that, and this person was very upset about it. And I said, look, not only do we have to get Biden elected, we have to get through this country through safely to inauguration day for a peaceful transference of power, which we aren't guaranteed. The sitting president has not guaranteed that. The Congress, Barr, the Supreme Court, not guaranteed the peaceful transference of power. He has
Nope.
Exploited every hole in our democracy. It looks more like a holy Afghan instead of a tightly knit document anymore. And I'm sorry, my dog, my dog is creeping up in my lap.
You are 100% right, Heidi. And that is why The rules that were in place, this white glove mentality,
Yes.
Joe Biden pulling the negative ads when Trump got sick with COVID, screw that. Democrats listening,
Yeah.
any of you who are in politics, you all know the truth. You all know what happens. You know what our leaders do in the room where it happens in closed doors.
Yes.
Democrats, stop pretending as if this is, oh, no, you know this happens. You're just freaked out that they're doing it in public. Stop it now.
We are the party of Mike Madigan. We know what happens in the room where it happens.
Yes, we do. If you
and
ever want to know, let us know.
and
You're
we
good at
know
knowing what
that
happens.
we can
Okay.
unleash that, even though, Murray, oh, 2 years ago I read a book called It's Time for Democrats to Fight Dirty: How Democrats Can Build a Lasting Majority in American Politics, by David Ferris. I read that right when it came off, when it was hot off the presses, telling us to stop being nice, stop going high when they go low. And you know me, I always want to take the high road when I can. I would rather not get down in the dirt and roll with people. When you lay down with dogs, you come up with fleas, right? But in this case,
Ma'am.
we are in the fight of our lives for our democracy, and we can't let up. And what I was trying to tell my friend who's worried about their marriage being dissolved or overturned by the Supreme Court is that once we get Joe elected, the work really begins, because we cannot rest on our laurels like we did with Obama, where he got elected and we all sat down. We barely got him
Yes.
reelected this for his second term.
We're going to have a fundamental role in shaping the way the government changes in the next 4 years. And we need to have that. We
Well,
need to be thinking about that now
we
and staying active in that
Murray,
respect.
we only have two
Because every,
years.
like you pointed out, Eddie, holes in every facet of our society have been blown and glaringly
Exploited.
exposed
Well,
for the world to see.
but Murray, if it goes like last time, like with Obama, he had 2 years. And then all of a sudden we had to come up against Boehner all the time. And after Boehner, we had McConnell. And McConnell's whole thing was to make Obama a one-term president. Well, what he did was McConnell managed to change the House and the Senate so that we didn't have majorities in either one. So it was just this one guy trying to row the boat on his own. And that's when he had to resort to executive powers. But we have to remember, as Democrats, as progressives, that the battle does not stop on November 3rd. Indeed, it just begins. Because if we're going to take this message of progressivism through its completion, through working towards health care and environmental issues and human rights and women's rights and equality for everyone, if we're going to do that, we can't sit down this time. We stand up and we push all the way through until we get everything and we have it codified, and we close up the holes in our Constitution and in our democracy, so we can't be trumped again. Because I'm telling you,
And then
they're
once we
preparing
do
for this
that, we
already.
have to refit history. We have to start educating about what our nation is. If they want a success story, that's what our nation is. We struggle, we crash, we rise. And it can be that way, but we can be honest about it and how we really got to where we are so we don't make these same mistakes again.
Yeah.
There are so many fundamental levels that need to change, our priorities, everything. And as we go forward, it's going to be an amazing time, but right now I am so very concerned that we won't get there.
We have
And
to
that
we have to push past November 3rd, clear to January 20th. We can't sit down. We'll all be popping corks the night of November 3rd. I hope we'll have the results that night. I hope. Donald Trump is a poor loser. He's a spoil sport. He's a narcissist. He's a hateful, nasty human being. There is nothing that isn't beneath him. There's nothing beneath him. Nothing. He will stoop to every level to try to be the next Kim Jong-un of the U.S.A., the next Putin.
agreed.
So we have to make sure that we're ready for that fight, because this is a huge, huge fight ahead. Once we get into January 20th and the new president has control of the military, I am
Things will
hopeful.
get a lot easier.
I think so.
Well, I don't guarantee it'll get easier on the social level, but at least we will have a starting point with which to rebuild.
I would like to not have so much animosity toward one another, and I think that starts January 20th, or not the 20th, the 21st. And it's going to, Trump could go a long way to either drop dead now or define peaceful transference of power and agree to that. And I don't know that he's going to do either one. He's just such a poor loser.
And so we have to be ready as listeners, as viewers, as active participants, as citizens. We have to be ready. We have to be mentally prepared. We have to be thinking about what we need to do in order to make this happen. But I urge everyone to call their leaders, call their congressmen, call their senators, write a message, call your judge, call your county board member, everyone you can possibly get in touch with and say, where the is the grown up in the room? None of you are doing anything. And we need someone to do it because if we don't take action, I can't even quantify the number of lives lost because of pure greed
Yeah.
and power.
Yeah.
And just him alone as a spreader, I would say at least 100 people will probably get infected.
Well, and those
And
100
and
people will
it
infect
is
100 people, each. And that's the whole thing with not doing contact
and he doesn't
tracing.
care.
No, he doesn't care. Is all those people that he came in contact with at Bedminster at his golf club. All of those people were exposed to him. Some, based on the pictures, up close and personal, saliva to saliva, breath to breath, droplets to droplets. They're all going to get sick, or at least a portion of them will get sick, and some to varying degrees. And some will die, and some will have the survivor syndrome where you always have something come up from this infection that goes with you, for the rest of your life. But I just can't believe he's going to get away unscathed. If he truly had COVID-19, unless there's a miracle cure we're not aware of that they gave him at Walter Reed, this just feeds into his
I can't believe
narrative.
anybody let him out. I don't know.
Well, I don't know that
Well,
they had a
we have
choice.
had, yeah, well, somebody should have had a choice. Doctors should have had a choice. The military should have had a choice. This is why we need to redo a whole lot of crap come January 20th because we did not, we are not a monarchy. We do not have a king. We left having a king so other rich guys could get rich and have power. But we don't have a king. We put things in place to be able to take back when things are bad, and somebody needs to step up and be the adult in the room. And that is my final word for today.
Okay. And I'm going to tell you, it won't be McConnell and it won't be Barr. And those are the two
Sweet
people.
Jesus. So
Yeah.
we'll tune in every Tuesday and Thursday live. We will be recapping the debate on Facebook at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. Tell your friends about us. We are great. And find us all of our past episodes, as Heidi mentioned, Demcast USA, Heartland Mamas.
MAMAS.com, all podcast platforms, and see these goofy faces on YouTube. Goodbye, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it. We appreciate it. Bye.